Before the school year started, a mysterious octopus slimy creature blew up 70% of the moon, leaving people perplexed. A few days after, the creature appeared at Kunugigaoka High School Class 3E, declaring himself as the culprit who blew up the moon and their new class teacher. A government spy known as Karasuma also accompanied him dressed like an NBA coach and recruited the children for a Kill the Octopus challenge with a reward of 10 billion yen if they succeed. Like the cast of a Tom Cruise movie set in a school, the students greet their octopus like teacher Koro-sensei with a hail of specially made plastic bullets capable of wounding him as he takes whatever. The class goes on with Koro-sensei explain the different rudiments of language to the students like a normal school. Throughout the school day, the students tried different avenues to assassinate the octopus, but all they got was a grooming session instead. At the end of the day, as the bell rung for the close of school, Koro-sensei left for Chine to pick up some food and dropped his cell number if anyone wanted to assassinate him, like a gentleman. While flying, Koro-sensei took that free time to grade the students' tests and put little notes and drawings like a doodler. Although Koro-sensei took time to teach each student according to their capabilities, they still didn't feel like they were cut out to actually excel. The next day, as Koro-sensei was addressing the students, Nagisa, one of the students, tried a daring suicide bombing attempt. Although it didn't affect him, the plan was hatched by Terasaka and his delinquent goons with Nagisa used as the sacrificial lamb. As the bomb went off, some of the other students were rejoicing while the rest were pissed. Just then, Terasaka noticed a cardboard-like membrane covering Nagisa. Koro-sensei then revealed himself to be a part-time ninja and was stuck to the ceiling much like the spiders in Australia.
What? What the fuck?
Koro-sensei told them of his once-in-a-month skin shedding, like an ever-growing insect that he used to protect Nagisa. However, much like an insect, Koro-sensei was furious, and his color changed to pitch black like my girlfriend in that time of the month.
Oh my.
In a fit of rage, he ran like the Flash, just discovering his powers, and took the nameplate of the houses of every student in his class and threatened to hurt other people if they tried an assassination like that next time. Terasaka and his goons started to cry like toddlers while pointing accusing fingers at Koro-sensei for threatening them. Koro-sensei then graded them on their assassination attempt, like my imaginary girlfriend does. But just like my girlfriend does when I play games all day, he berated them for not looking out for their classmate. After the impromptu lecture from the octopus, the students of Class 3E made up their minds to assassinate their teacher and stop the world from blowing up before the year runs out. Before school began, Koro-sensei always flew to Hawaii to pick up a newspaper alongside a drink, which he then drinks in a shaded place near the school, while he read the newspaper like middle-aged white men everywhere. But today will be much different. Sugino, an aspiring baseball player, has studied a baseball with the BB bullets and wants to use it to ruin Koro-sensei's morning. With legs raised like an Olympic athlete in the Paris Olympics, he launched the ball straight at the octopus, but the octopus is faster. Soon after, Koro-sensei taught the class and was acting like all was well, while the class gossiped about the failed attempt by Sugino and how he was sad about it. After classes ended for break, Koro-sensei flew to New York to catch a baseball game, ironically. The students of Class 3E were debating with Karasuma the true intentions of Koro-sensei and why he decided to teach their class instead of becoming a world destroyer like Frieza. Soon after, Sugino was eating his lunch alone and Koro-sensei came to meet him. The octopus returned the baseball from earlier. Soon after, Koro-sensei started to use his tentacles to explore every part of Sugino's body while suspending him in the air like a piñata. Meanwhile, Nagisa saw this from inside the class and ran out to confront him, but Koro-sensei explained that he was using an unusual method to measure his muscles. The octopus then advised that Sugino find the path that suits him, both in baseball and assassination. Later that day, Koro-sensei is back at his favorite spot behind the school, snacking on some North Pole snow cones like a child in the amusement park. Some of the students gang up on him using the guise of wanting the snow cones, but he evaded them and swapped their weapons for the flowers they've been growing around the school building. The girls started to cry, and they bullied him to plant new flower bulbs with care like a Mexican gardener. Soon after, the students checked out Nagisa's special notes of Koro-sensei's weakness, but all he has written in it was a basic comic description of Koro-sensei, like the one drawn by DC comic artists. Later in the main school building, Karasuma is meeting with the school principal, who is getting paid by the government in exchange for using his school for the assassination. As they were leaving, they overhear the students describing the E-class building like a prison in a third world country, none of them wishing to ever end up there. As this was going on, other students around had their heads bent in reading a book like a Wall Street stockbroker, even as they were going to other classes. Moments later, Karasuma came down to the satellite building to introduce himself newly as their new teacher. But he met Koro-sensei tied and hung from a tree like a piñata, and the students trying their best to land an attack, but the piñata-sensei is moving faster than the speed of sound. As Koro-sensei was showing off his speed, the tree branch broke, and the students set on him like the Israelites during the crucifixion of Jesus.
NANI?!
Simultaneously, this was the first time that Nagisa's weakness notebook proved useful. After the semi-successful assassination of the piñata speedster, the students were imagining how best to spend the reward. However, a certain suspended student daydreamed about killing a teacher. The next day, Karasuma took over their physical education classes and converted it to a beginner military weapons training course. During this time, he relegated Koro-sensei to the daycare center playing with sand. To demonstrate the effectiveness of the training, Karasuma asked two students to try and touch him with the plastic knife, but they were unable to, probably because they were beginners and also children. After the lesson, the students were all talking about Karasuma, which made Koro-sensei jealous like my girlfriend when I talk to other people. The day was looking to be uneventful, but it would soon change as Kama, a suspended student, appeared, having finished his suspension sentence. He walked up to Koro-sensei with all the smiles of a budding politician in New York, but as soon as they shook hands, Koro-sensei found out why his parents called him Kama. He had glued some of the plastic knives to his palm, which then blew up one of Koro-sensei's tentacles. Kama then continued to taunt Koro-sensei, which made his head turn to the color of ripe tomatoes, while the remaining students looked on in amazement. Later during class, Koro-sensei gave them a quiz, while he continued acting like a child put in the corner for a timeout. When he turned back, Koro-sensei saw the gelato he brought from Italy the day before with Kama. Just as he was about to collect the rest, he stepped into some BB pellets, thereby wounding himself, the oldest trick in the assassination book. The next day, as Koro-sensei entered the class, he met a dead octopus on his table with a knife sticking out of it like sanakji, a popular Japanese delicacy but without the added servings. Koro-sensei decided to use the octopus to whip up takoyaki at Mach speed, using the fire from a missile he stole from the self-defense force. Kama tried different times in different classes during the school day, but he is trumped and put into embarrassing attires by Koro-sensei, from putting him in an apron in cooking class to giving him a makeover during languages. After class, Kama sat at the edge of the cliff like a side character in an isekai anime and was lost in thought till Nagisa came to meet him. Koro-sensei arrived soon after, and Kama decided to put the octopus's resolve as a teacher to the test by jumping off the cliff like a damsel in distress. As he fell, his life flashed before his eyes, but before he hit the ground, Koro-sensei formed a web with his tentacles and used it to catch him like a fly in a spider's web, and much like a fly, he was stuck and couldn't move his hands to shoot the octopus. Koro-sensei then stood over him with the sun behind him like Spider-Man saving someone from New York. But as a premeditated retaliation, Kama took Koro-sensei's purse and emptied the contents to buy snacks, as he is a growing boy in need of many nutrients. As payday came and his salary was paid, Koro-sensei followed in the steps of many foodies before him and went for a sweets shopping at the nearest grocery store. As he was exiting, he saw a lady being harassed and saved her from the men harassing her. The woman used her big plots and hugged Koro-sensei, leaving him flushed. The lady, coincidentally, was the new teacher posted to Class 3E. She introduced herself as Irina while glued to Koro-sensei's arms' tentacles. The male students were all starstruck, but the female students reeked of jealousy like adolescent females, but Koro-sensei was smitten by the plots, which made his color change to pink. Later that day, the students were playing with Koro-sensei. However, Karasuma was talking to Irina, who revealed her true colors and identity as an Angelina Jolie-type assassin. Karasuma informed her of her teaching responsibilities, but she ignored him to continue her octopus seduction. As she sent Koro-sensei on a fool's errand to Vietnam, she let down the damsel in distress persona, and showed her evil stepmother one to the students.
Neat. Yeah, boy.
Karma protested, and Irina showed them how grown-ups do things in front of the remaining students. Nagisa took emotional damage till he passed out due to overloading. As Koro-sensei got back, he was led to a shed by Irina, and he followed like a lamb to the slaughterhouse. Irina took off her suit, revealing her plots, and they left Koro-sensei flustered like a nerd, while Irina's goons waited in the shadow with guns trained on him. As Irina went to a corner to take off the rest of her clothes, the goons opened fire on Koro-sensei like in a gun range with live ammo and guns. After the bullets stopped, Irina came out to meet Koro-sensei perfectly okay. He then proceeded to give her a thorough grooming that left her wearing a PE outfit. In the next class, Irina still hasn't given up, but the students want to be taught. Irina berated them, but they got angry and started to stone her like a mob of Indian men. Later, Irina complained to Karasuma, who then took her to Koro-sensei's favorite spot, where he was preparing questions for the students based on their performance. He then took her to see the students who were playing badminton with an assassination twist. After the lecture, Irina walked into class 3E and started to teach them the rudiments of English using the not-so-good parts of the language. Her lessons were on how to engage in conversations and also how to sweet-talk a lover. She also apologized to them, but they laughed at her. The students also decided on a name for her and stuck with her initial taunting moniker. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei embarked on a taste test of his new sweets. For a specialized science project sweet heist, Koro-sensei decided to teach them how to extract coloring from junk food. He enlisted the help of the class officers in setting up and asked each student to bring a sweet. After the experiment, he commandeered the rest of the sweets and magically made them disappear with his speed. However, Okuda-san made poison as a side project and straightforwardly asked him to drink it. Koro-sensei drank it and made a dramatic effect of drinking it, but none of them had any effect on his body except to change his facial expressions and give him weird looks. Soon after, he asked her whether they can make a poison together that will kill him. Moments after, it was break time, and the students were playing assassination badminton while Irina tried to flirt with Karasuma, but he shut it down swiftly. As that was going on, Koro-sensei and Okuda were in the classroom, trying to cook up an octopus-killing poison. As that was going on, they had a discussion on academics, and Koro-sensei gave her an assignment. The next day the poison was ready, and Koro-sensei drank it. However, it achieved the opposite effect. Koro-sensei then revealed that he had Okuda prepare a potion that will enhance his fluidity and make him much faster. Then, like a motivational speaker hustling for money, he went on to explain how words are very important in conveying emotions. Soon after, the students of Class 3E make the arduous climb from their mountaintop class to the main building for assembly. They are also required to line up before any other class. Class 3E successfully climbed down the mountain pass with Karasuma and Irina after evading snakes and bees. The other male students and teachers were swooning at the sight of Irina, but the females were jealous. Irina tried to stoke the flames of jealousy by smothering Nagisa with her plots, but Karasuma was there to restore order. Soon after, the student council president came up to talk about some points in the newsletter. Unfortunately, there were not any copies made for the E-class. However, like a Marvel superhero, Koro-sensei came to the rescue while wearing his disguise, disobeying the orders from Karasuma. As the student president was talking, Irina tried to attack Koro-sensei, but was unsuccessful, and she was forcefully taken away by Karasuma, but she seemed to like the violence.
Oh yes, Daddy!
After the assembly, some students tried to bully Nagisa. Karasuma, seeing this, tried to intervene, but Koro-sensei stopped him. Just then, Nagisa overcame the bullies with his words and a little bit of bloodlust. All of this did not go unnoticed by the principal, who looked like he failed the audition to become the wielder of the Death Note. The midterm tests are fast approaching, so Koro-sensei organized a special exam cram class. Using his speed, he works with each student one-on-one to revise with them on their subjects. He even dressed up as Naruto to show fighting spirit. As this is going on, some of the students tried to take advantage and assassinate the octopus. As preparations were going on, Principal Asano, who could have gone to be a model or a politician but chose to be a principal, shows up and officially meets Koro-sensei. The octopus tried to suck up to him to get a pay raise, but Principal Asano took on the office of HR and shut it down with a sweet display of words. Principal Asano condemned Nagisa's brazen attitude to other students at the main campus, and he also gave Koro-sensei a metal ring puzzle to solve, but he couldn't. The next day, Koro-sensei intensified the cram sessions with more speed copies, which caused him to be extremely tired by school's end. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei was imagining his students passing and bringing other college students with big plots who heard of his prowess. However, his students all wished to get the 10 billion yen and live life on Easy Street. This angered the octopus, who brought them all to the field. On the field, as he began to advise them, he started to spin really fast and created a mini tornado visible from the main school. When he stopped and the dust cleared, it revealed a well-drawn football field complete with a track and field arena and equipment. The students looked on in amazement while Koro-sensei stood at the center with his eyes red like a Power Ranger villain. The day for midterms finally came, and each student is bent over their desks like the hunchback of Notre Dame, taking their midterm tests seriously at the main campus, including the E-class. The E-class were initially having problems with the subjects, but they remembered the wise words of the octopus and were able to scale through. However, they soon suffered losses from an unseen question. Karasuma tried to find out why, but he was cuckolded by the teachers at the main campus, who informed them that the principal himself broadened the scope of the test 2 days to the exam. The mood was all foul in the class, with the octopus even being depressed. However, Karma decided to use that chance to launch an attack and show his results to the class. Koro-sensei then vowed to get them back in the second midterm tests, and the students of E-class laughed in response. The class trip preparations is underway, and everyone is excited and pairing with a partner, including Koro-sensei, who is decked in makeup and attire like a model representing Japan for Miss Universe. But the trip doesn't stop the assassination preparations. Karasuma urged them to plan for possible assassination locations on their trip. The students divide themselves into groups like Mini SEAL Team 6. Koro-sensei brings out his inner nerd and goes all out in making a dictionary-like guidebook complete with a mini model of the town. The students were hyped and ready to go. The day came and the students in the main campus are all in first class and the E-class in coach. Irina turned the tables by dressing up like a Hollywood star. However, Karasuma disagreed with the style and got her to change into a much calmer dress fit for an air hostess. The train left with Koro-sensei not on board. The students looked and found that he was stuck to the side of the plane like a human-sized octopus bug who missed boarding because he was buying snacks. Later, when he entered the plane, Sugaya, one of the students, carved a nose for him from wood, making him Koro Pinocchio. Moments after, some of the girls went on a drink run, but they bumped into some ugly high school students who stole their itinerary. As the train arrived at Kyoto, Koro-sensei deflated like a balloon because he got motion sickness, but he still was able to evade stabbing, although he couldn't sleep because he forgot his favorite pillow like a schoolgirl going for a sleepover.
Oh my God!
The next day, the students of Class 3E were sightseeing for possible assassination spots, like a scout for a military team. They also used that time to check out popular assassination spots in the history of Japan, but they were soon accosted by the ugly high school students. The ugly students kidnapped some of the female students of Class 3E, but they were soon discovered with the help of the nerdy guidebook that Koro-sensei provided that included steps on how to foul a student abduction. Soon after, heavy steps were heard coming from outside. The kidnapping ringleader was happy that his goons were on their way and would defeat the Class 3E students like babies. However, they turned out to be led by Koro-sensei, who had beaten some sense into their bodies like a Catholic priest and led them by the tentacles like poodles. Koro-sensei then proceeded to beat some sense into the rest of the gang like my girlfriend when I don't close the toilet seat. The students then delivered the final blow with the dictionary guidebook. In the end, they never got to assassinate Koro-sensei that day. And like me, when I play games all day and forget my girlfriend, they plan to take him out another day. The school trip is ongoing with many interests for the kids, but Karasuma has more sinister plans of his own. Like a Yakuza boss, he hired Red Eye, an assassin, to take out Koro-sensei on the trip. Meanwhile, the students and Koro-sensei are on an open train expedition around the town. The students of Class 3E have plans of their own. The train stopped at the Hozu River Bridge. Just as Koro-sensei leaned over to check out the boat that was going downstream, Red Eye took his shot. He expected it to be a headshot, but Koro-sensei stopped it with a sausage roll dough. He was dumbfounded like my girlfriend when I tell her I don't know what a tampon is. He planned to finish the job next time as the train started moving. Soon after, they got to a reenactment of a samurai fighting other samurais, similarly to Samurai X with the weird hairstyles. The students were leading Koro-sensei like a cow about to be used to make bacon, and while he was distracted, Red-Eye prepared to take the shot. Just then, Koro-sensei disappeared and appeared among the actors in the reenactment dressed like a cosplayer. He then started to move too fast for the sniper to shoot him. Few hours later, they were back in town. One of the students was distracting him with souvenir sweets and cleaning his face with blotting paper. In that moment, Red-Eye took his shot, but his bullet was stopped by the blotting paper. This final act broke the resolve of Red-Eye, and he decided to quit assassination for good. As he was about leaving town, Koro-sensei came to meet him and took him out for a bros night out. They spent the remainder of the night eating tofu and discussing assassinations and whatnot. The next day, the students of Class 3E went to an arcade to have fun, and Kanzaki was handing out losses to the boys like lottery tickets. This loss made the boys switch to table tennis. They even invited Karasuma to play with them, but he declined. Much later, after the games, some of the students decided to sneak into the male bath, while Koro-sensei was inside to see what was under the hood like a human mechanic. But they instead saw Koro-sensei having a bubble bath and scrubbing his tentacles like a lady taking a bath after a hectic day at work. They then tried to ambush him, but he solidified the water like cold jello and escaped through the window. Both the boys and girls were engaging in small talk in their rooms. Koro-sensei tried to spy on them, and they all ganged up on him like a witch-killing mob. Koro-sensei later found solace in Karasuma's room. The night came to a peak and everyone went to bed, but some of them were still reminiscing about the assassination and the various techniques they'll use to kill Koro-sensei. It looked like everything would be back to normal after the school trip. The students even got a female transfer student. All they boys were imagining times of teen romance like in Hollywood movies. But their hopes were dashed when they entered the class to find a block of metal with a screen who introduced herself as their new classmate. Karasuma was not pleased with the addition, but Koro-sensei took it as another day in the life of an octopus. As classes were ongoing, the Roboblock extended her guns from the side and launched an attack on the octopus, but he was able to evade all of them. She scanned her opponent's evasion pattern, corrected her trajectory, and soon destroyed his left tentacle. This left the students amazed. The barrage of bullets became like hail on a rainy day and was able to score multiple hits on Koro-sensei. The attack went on throughout the day and left the students fleeing for their lives. The next day, as Roboblock was about to start, one of the students taped the robot with duct tape, and it was unable to function. Later that night, Koro-sensei brainwashed her into accepting some hardware from him. That included some simulation software and other upgrades. He then went ahead to install them like an Indian developer on YouTube. Although he included some foodie incentives for his benefits, unfortunately, all the upgrades took a huge bite out of Koro-sensei's pocket, leaving him with no money for sweets. The next day, the students were surprised at the new and improved Roboblock and were open-mouthed like a sweaty dog. As the class went on, some of the guys were blushing while looking at her, but some of them, like Terasaka, were not in support. Hearing the harsh words Terasaka said, Roboblock began to shed simulated tears like in an Assassin's Creed game. This made the remaining student to support Roboblock. As class went on, the students of Class 3E found different ways to fall in love with a robot. They soon decided to follow in the step of Terminator and pick a name for the robot. They all agreed on Ritsu as a name for the robot. However, her creator disagreed with the upgrade and stripped her immediately like someone who stole in a clothes store. The next day, Karasuma informed Koro-sensei and the class of the wishes of her creator, and they were worried about whether Ritsu will return to her Terminator ways. Instead, she became an Italian and brought out flowers from her gun ports and declared that she was a lover, not a fighter. A few days passed and Irina was teaching the students how to keep up chit-chat with foreigners. After the class, she's tired but got angry at Koro-sensei for staring at her plots every time. She throws a childish tantrum and leaves. Just then, a man who looks like he was peeled from a fast food magazine appears. Irina recognizes him, but Karasuma does not. They converse in English for a while but switch to Japanese. He introduced himself as Lovro, a retired assassin and Irina's teacher. Lovro instructs Irina to leave as he will take over the assassination. Just then, Koro-sensei arrived and challenged Lovro to a killing off with Karasuma as the target. The time limit is the next day. The idea wasn't received well by Irina, who thought that Koro-sensei was trying to use her as a way to score points with the new assassin, like a jealous boyfriend upstaging the new love interest. The next day, as Karasuma was informing the students about the competition, Irina came running with water like a girl on the beach, but Karasuma saw through her plans. She then tried to use the damsel in distress approach, but it didn't work. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei promises to stand still for 1 second if Karasuma successfully evades the two assassins. Later, in the staff room, Lovro launches a surprise attack, but Karasuma overpowered him, partly because Lovro was old and has weak joints. The display shook both Irina and Koro-sensei to their core. Lovro conceded defeat, but Koro-sensei put on his cheerleading outfit to cheer them on. Soon after, Irina went to meet Karasuma with a knife where he was eating his lunch, like all assassinations in Roman history. And like a sulking girlfriend, she asked for permission before stabbing him, but she didn't share the rest of her plans. She soon straddled him like a horse and continued to struggle with him, but Karasuma got tired of the game and gave up. Later during the day, school has closed and each students were going home. Koro-sensei, however, was going to see an Hollywood action movie in the country it was made. This sparked up the interest of Kama and Nagisa, and they begged to be taken along like kids wanting to go to Disneyland. Ritsu also begged to be taken along by freeloading on Nagisa's phone like my girlfriend when I sleep with my phone unlocked. Koro-sensei, with a sneaky gleam in his eye, took them on a flying journey like Superman and Lois Lane. Koro-sensei then used the flight time to give them an in-flight lecture courtesy of Octopus Airlines. They soon got to Hawaii and got tickets to watch the movie. And in the spirit of sleepovers, Koro-sensei gave them all blankets so that they can enjoy the movies without catching cold from the air conditioning. He also offered them some soda and popcorn to accompany the movie. They were experiencing the full American experience. Later at night, they are back at school, but Koro-sensei couldn't stop crying about the movie ending. He also gave them what every student dreaded, and homework for them to summarize the movie in English, their price for a free trip to Hawaii. As they all left for their homes, a sinister presence watched them go. He was cloaked in shadow like a ninja of the hidden leaf, with imaginations on how to defeat Koro-sensei. The next day, while working, Karasuma got a mail from the Special Service HQ about the coming of their long-awaited savior. As this is happening, Koro-sensei appeared in class with a beach ball head due to moisture. He then informed them of the new transfer student. Just then, a man dressed like he just came from an Aladdin photo shoot opened the door. He then performed a magic trick to put the students at ease, but Koro-sensei was a big scaredy cat, or scaredy octopus. The white-clad man then introduced the new kid who broke the back wall like the Hulk in a small body. The students and Koro-sensei were dumbfounded. The white-clad man introduced the student as Itona. Karma noticed that it was raining, but Itona is bone dry. Itona then proceeded to pet him like a poodle and went to pick a fight with Koro-sensei. Itona then revealed that he is Koro-sensei's brother, which left the class screaming like football fans after a goal. Afterwards, Itona declared the classroom to be their WWE elimination chamber with the last man standing the winner. He then left with the Aladdin man. As soon as they left, all the students bombarded Koro-sensei with questions like, "It was a press conference." As the day went on, it became increasingly obvious that maybe Itona wasn't telling a lie, as he had a sweet tooth and an unreadable expression as Koro-sensei. They even liked the same type of plot. The students tried to think of realistic ways they could be related, but they all came up with soap opera versions. As school closed, the classroom was prepared for the showdown with the desks arranged like a ring. The loser is anyone who steps out of a ring. Itona took off his jacket with a wrestler's flair, and the Aladdin man started the countdown for the fight. As he stopped the countdown, one of Koro-sensei's tentacles flew off his body and started flopping like a lizard's tail. Everyone could not see the speed at which the tentacle was cut. Itona then started to showcase the tentacles from his hair. Thus, revelation made Koro-sensei angry, and his eyes take on the color of a car's brake lights. As he wanted to talk to the Aladdin man, he shot a beam of pressure at Koro-sensei, causing his body to stiffen. As Itona started to attack, Koro-sensei escaped by shedding his skin like a lizard. However, the shedding and regrowing of skin uses more energy, thus makes his speed drop. Itona launched another attack, taking out the octopus legs. Meanwhile, the students do not feel happy that Koro-sensei is about to be killed. Koro-sensei readies himself for the next onslaught of tentacles. As Itona readied himself to continue the battle of the 4 octopuses, Koro-sensei used the plastic weapons to cut Itona as they are brothers. He then wrapped him with his shed skin like a supermarket bag and threw him out of the class window, making Koro-sensei the undisputed champion of the Class 3E Elimination Chamber. However, Itona descended into the depths of rage and put on the persona of Kratos. But before he could attack, the Aladdin man shot him with a tranquilizer dart and carried him off for more experiments and tests. After the battle, Koro-sensei was sad to have displayed a serious side of him as opposed to his comedic nature. The students then pressed him to tell them about his secret past, but he made fun of them, but they didn't fall for it. Koro-sensei then tied his secret to the assassination, much like the donkey and the carrot. This made the students go to Karasuma to learn more assassination techniques. The rains ended and the students of Class 3E are excited about the summer. They pass the baseball field where the players recognize Sugino as a former star. With the tension in the air, the team decided to destroy Class 3E in the upcoming school festival, like professional player beating a bunch of babies. The students informed Koro-sensei about the school game, but that they weren't allowed to participate, only allowed for an exhibition match at the end of the games, like a friendly to raise money for goodwill. Only that the goodwill is the warm and fuzzy feeling his school gets after trashing the E-class. They still decide to play with Koro-sensei, hyped for it, but the class is somewhat divided. The competition day arrives and the stage is set for the baseball gladiator match in Kunugigaoka School. Koro-sensei coached them, but he was limited to appearing in the shape of a baseball. The game starts with the baseball team getting a strike at first throw, but the E-team do well the next turn to secure a base. Nagisa comes up to bat and also secured a bunt. He then revealed that they've been training with Koro-sensei for this match, and he drilled them like a drill sergeant. He also got Takabayashi to spy on the baseball team like a reconnaissance mission. The game goes on with E-class scoring base after base. Soon, Sugino comes to bat, and so began the baseball showdown. He scores a hit, and E-class scores 3 points. Just then, the dreaded Principal Asano appeared and put the coach under genjutsu like an Uchiha. He then took over as their coach. The battle continued. Asano met with the students and gave them a pep talk, worthy of being in Game of Thrones. He then set his baseball players loose on Class 3E, who have all the odds stacked against them. The team soon scored 2 points. Soon it was time for E-class to throw. Sugino makes the shot while Asano was busy brainwashing his star player. Soon after, Kama comes up to bat and started to antagonize the other team. After, the star player recovered 2 points. It's now down to this last point. Shindu, the star player, walks up to bat, but Class 3E used the illegal defense the baseball team has been using against them. Using this play, E-class executed a triple play, effectively winning the game for them and making them top dogs at the school. After the overwhelming victory, E-class continued their training in the mystic arts. Most of them are able to attack Karasuma with more confidence, but an unseen talent emerged in the form of Nagisa. Moments after, one of Karasuma's old army buddy, Takaoka, came bearing gifts like Father Christmas. He came with many sweets and cake and announced that he would be assisting Karasuma. During this, Koro-sensei snuck behind them to drool over the sweets like a glutton, and however Karasuma was not impressed. The next day, just as Karasuma was trying to talk himself into agreeing, he discovered some new evidence to prove otherwise. Meanwhile, Takaoka was introducing the new training regimen which would affect their studies. One of them tried to protest, but they got a kick meant for a Mortal Kombat player to their gut. As Takaoka was bullying the students, Karasuma came to their aid. Just then, Koro-sensei turned up looking the color of tomato. As he's angry, Takaoka taunted him, but he couldn't do anything. As they trained, the students got tired and started falling. Just as Takaoka was about to dispense army justice, Karasuma stepped in and stopped him. Takaoka then suggested that he have a mock combat with Karasuma's best student, but with real knives. Karasuma was hesitant to choose, but like a contestant in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Killer, he chose an option which was Nagisa. This choice surprised everyone, even Nagisa, but in the end, he agreed and took the knife. Both Takaoka and Irina were surprised at his choice, but Takaoka readied himself to fight, hoping for a public execution like my girlfriend when she argues with me in public. Nagisa then remembered Karasuma's words and decided to try a different approach, while Takaoka was imagining different scenarios like my girlfriend when another woman calls my phone. Soon after, Nagisa walked up to Takaoka with a smile on his face until he was face to face with him, and then executed a movement that will make any army general proud to subdue Takaoka, who was crying and drooling like a bully who had just been shown a taste of what he does. This surprised all the students, including Irina and Karasuma. After the fight, Koro-sensei took back the knife and started to eat it like candy. Just then, Takaoka regained his pride and demanded a rematch with eyes looking like it might pop from exertion, but the students talked some sense into his head. Takaoka, looming over them like the Japanese Hulk, started spouting nonsense and attacked the students, but Karasuma knocked him out like One Punch Man. As Takaoka was ranting, Principal Asano dismissed him using his brainwashing skills. The students of E-class rejoiced on getting Karasuma back as their teacher. Koro-sensei was sad that he couldn't join in and pleaded on his hands and knees, his tentacles to be included in the celebration. The summer heat was in full swing, and the students of Class E were looking for a pool to cool off, but like in a dictatorship, the only available pool was at the main campus and accessible to the elite students. Soon, Koro-sensei led them to a secluded location in the mountains where he constructed a pool for them. Every student was ecstatic like children on a sugar rush, and some of the ladies just noticed that Nagisa was a boy. As this was happening, Koro-sensei started to act like an overbearing lifeguard who believed himself to be royalty at the pool. One of the students splashed some water on him, but this made him scream like a little girl. However, Terasaka was not impressed at all with the pool and shook his head like my mom when I try to arrange my room. After the pool session, the students returned to class, but Terasaka continued his reign of grumbling. He even picked a fight with the class and threw a can of spray which exploded all over. Later that night, Terasaka began to pour some form of chemical into the pool. Just then, the Aladdin-dressed man appeared and gave Terasaka some money for his troubles. The next day, Koro-sensei's nostrils were running all through class. Soon Terasaka appeared and challenged Koro-sensei to an assassination attempt by the pool after class, and urged his classmates to help kill him once and for all. The time came for the killing, and all the students were in the pool. Terasaka then shot a gun-shaped transmitter at Koro-sensei. But the effect was different from what he imagined as the rocks round the pool broke and the water started pouring out with the students in it. Like Aquaman, Koro-sensei dove into the pool to save his students, while Terasaka looked on like Judas the Betrayer. Karma, who went to cause some mischief on the main campus, came running, but met nobody at the now empty pool except Terasaka, who was putting the blame on the Aladdin man. Terasaka got a punch in response and he lay on the ground like a sulking dog. Meanwhile, Koro-sensei was busy fighting Itona, while also protecting the students. Terasaka decided to make things right and begged Terasaka to control him like a toy transformer. Soon after, Terasaka jumped into the fight and requested that Itona fight him. Just as Itona attacked Terasaka, Koro-sensei used that chance to rescue the remaining students. Karma then thought of a plan that turned the tides against Itona, using the same weakness he used against Koro-sensei. Once he saw that his advantage was lost, Aladdin Man beckoned for Itona to come like a master calling his dog. Koro-sensei tried to get him to attend class, but he refused. Both Aladdin Man and Itona left, and the students breathed a sigh of relief. They soon reverted back to jovial ways and all was well with the world.